we'll just give it another 30 seconds. Seems like there's some still people joining us, and then we'll get started. So today's webinars will take about maybe 45 minutes to 50 minutes to cover. And if there's any time for questions, I will try to answer some questions live afterwards. But if you do have any questions, please put it into the Q&A box. If we can't get to it during the webinar, we will get to it after the webinar and send out a blog afterwards. Please do allow us some time to get through all the questions, and sometimes we need to reach back out to you guys to get some more information to be able to answer properly. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to answer all the questions on the spot. So again, I do appreciate everyone joining and taking the time out on a Friday to join us and learn a little bit about the WMS. So what I'll do is I'll get started with the webinar. Now, let's get started. So the ones that missed the introduction, my name is Andrew. I'm from DS Systems, and I'll be conducting today's webinar. Now, if you do have any other questions just around maybe setups, need more information, guides, anything like that, you can email our support team at dssystems.com. So that's just support@dssystems.com. You can also call us on the below number, or just even contact us through WhatsApp. And we can gather the relevant information from you and then get back to you. We do have teams around the world. So we do have an office in Australia, in the EMEA region for UK and South Africa and Middle East. And also we do have an office in Denver, Colorado. So which most of our staff is working remote there, covering North Americas. So let's look at today's agenda. So today's agenda, we'll be covering what is WMS, because a lot of people haven't actually come across a warehouse management software before, or particularly ever had experience using one. I know there's other systems in place, and I know DA does have pick, pack, and ship functionality in the backend, but the DWMS is a little bit different. So it is a device that is used predominantly in the warehouse by warehouse staff. And do I need a device? So we'll cover a little bit about devices and what you need to use it on and where you can get access to it. So that's been one of the kind of the question that always comes up. We'll talk about the benefits of using the WMS, and we'll go through some of the workflow. So some of the step-by-steps of using WMS. So whether it's receiving an order, fulfilling an order, doing some stock control management. Also, I'll jump into the back end of DIA and talk through some of the settings that you need to make sure you got right before using the WMS. And then from there, we'll go through a live demo. So I'll go through a particular, this morning I went through a particular scenario on the WMS, and we'll cover that as well. So again, any kind of questions, if you have any at any point, please just put it into the Q&A box, and we'll get to it if we can during the webinar. If not, we'll get back to everybody after the webinar. So now let's move on to the next slide. So what is a warehouse management software? Why do we need to systemize this process? So what is it? So it's mainly built for managing your warehouse fulfillment. So everything from receiving an order in, so receiving stock quantities into the system, all the way to picking an item, packing it, and shipping it out. So, a warehouse management system, short for WMS, is a software solution that offers visibility into a business' entire inventory and management supply chain fulfillment operations from the warehouse to the end user. So everything from receiving, fulfillment, stock management, bin controls, so location controls within a location. And do I need one? So why would you opt in for a WMS? Now, rethinking your warehouse is a big concept. So it's about looking at your warehouse and going, how is it operating? Is it efficient? Is it operating in a logical manner? Are there bottlenecks in my warehousing? Am I missing orders? What's happening here? Is orders getting picked really quickly, but it's taking a long time to pack, or it's taking a long time to ship? What are my bottlenecks? And what are my daily errors? What are some of the errors that keeps coming up? Some of the issues that keep coming up? Am I getting a lot of returns? Is my customer satisfaction up? So these are a few things. And are we double handling? Are things being printed twice? Are orders being entered into different system, from one system into another system, from one Excel file into another Excel file? Is there double handling going on? So just reviewing all of that is a great process to understand if you need a WMS and how WMS could potentially be usable. So once you understand that WMS is pretty much a system that's used for managing your warehouse, you can look at, well, how can I make my warehouse efficient from there? Now, what do you actually can you use a WMS device on? So to use a WMS device, you actually need some sort of a PDA device. A PDA device, I have one picture there right in the middle. That's called Scan SKU, which is the second point. Scan SKU is one of our recommended PDA devices that you can search and buy. Now, the app is just simply downloaded on there, onto that device, and you open it up and you log in. You can also use it on any Android or iOS device. So for today's seminar, I'm actually using it on my mobile phone, on my Android mobile phone. And I'm using a Bluetooth scanner to actually use it as the scanner. The Scan SKU device actually has the scanner built into it. So obviously it's a lot more comprehensive, it's a lot more robust and hardy just piece of device that can be used in the warehouse. And it has its own scanner. But for today's, I actually plugged it into any self-configuring point and shoot Bluetooth scanner will work. So you can just connect it to your mobile phone, download the application. So if you just search the WMS on the app market, you will find it. You can be able to download it onto your device, and from there use it to scan particular items or start the process. So let's move on to some of the benefits of WMS. After speaking to literally hundreds of business owners that are operating their own and managing their own warehouses, one of the issues that we're having was they were missing picks. So if an item was due for picking, sometimes it just went missing. Sometimes they just never got picked. So there was obviously an issue with that picking event. So we weren't able to actually pick for that item. And packing the right order. So sometimes things will get picked correctly, but then will get packed into the wrong order. So order one will receive order two's pick. And this was a common issue. So really the key first benefits are reduces the ability to miss a pick and also to pack the right order utilizing totes. Now, I'll explain a little bit later what totes are, but simply are just a bucket, you can call it, where you put in the things you picked for a particular order. And lower the risk of fulfilling the same order twice. So accidentally sending the same order twice, so the customer receiving the goods twice. Better stock control. So whether that's doing write-offs directly from the system, doing bin transfers, so transferring stock within a location, and then opting in for on-the-spot cycle counts, so ability to do stock takes through this device. But most importantly, shipping automation. So no reason to double handle the shipping. It can happen from the same device, and you can actually print the shipping label and lock it in through the device. This is because of our in-app integration that we have with certain shipping applications such as ShipStation, Star Ship It, and Ship It, which you can find on our integration page. Now let's just go through the WMS workflow. Now, this is the workflow that we'll cover in today's webinar. It's searching for a particular purchase order, so finding a purchase order, receiving the items in on that purchase order, doing a put away, And from there, coming back and doing a blind receipt. Now, blind receipt, if you guys are not aware, is a function in Dia to ability to receiving goods without having a purchase order. So you're receiving the goods, and then you can put in the invoice for the supplier. Second scenario we'll go through is we'll search for a sales order to find a sales order that's ready to be picked. Going to pick, and then once we picked it into totes, we can go ahead into pack and finalize the box, and from there ship it automatically through the system. In today's webinar, we'll be using ShipStation as the shipping platform that we're connected to on this account. And also we'll cover printing labels, so you can print actually product labels directly from the system. Do write-offs, stock takes, so you can do cycle counts, and bin transfers, so internal bin transfers from here. Now, before going any further into the actual demo, I'm going to jump into the back end of the system. Now, going through the system, there's a few things that needs to be set up. So this is just a demo account that I've populated with some basic data. One of the first things you need to do is make sure that your inventory and your products, so your inventory lists, have dimensions and weights assigned to them. Now, in the back end of Dia, I do have some toys that I will be purchasing today and fulfilling out of orders. So if I click on my toys, we can see to the fourth header down, it says dimensions. So I can click on dimensions, select my unit of measure, select the dimension here, the length, the width, the height of the product, item weights as well, and whether it's imperial or metric measurements. And also I can put in like some carton size and so forth, but most importantly is this dimension needs to be filled out for a product to work properly with a shipping platform. So this is quite crucial. Just a note here, if you do trace these products by serial number or batch numbers, don't forget you can always change that in our costing methods by selecting FIFO serial, batch, and first expired, first out by batch. Now, I will be doing a particular product today that has batch numbers. If you ever get lost and want to learn more, don't forget there's always this tutorial tab to the top right of the screen in most places in Dia, where you can actually find our tutorial videos, which is a step-by-step guide on how to set up and how to configure products in the system. Now, once you've done that, I won't go too far into the shipping side of things, just from the fact that you need to connect into a shipping platform. Again, today we'll be connected to ShipStation, but you can also use ShipIt and StarShipIt as an embedded integration and ShipStation. So these connections need to happen from Dia to the shipping platform as one of them. And on the integrations, my integrations, click on it, we'll see Dia WMS. Now, to set up the Dia WMS is actually quite simple. You can go through the Dia WMS here and turn on a few things. So there's an option for saying always scan bin numbers. So if you are utilizing bins in the system, which is always takes the highest priority, you can say that always scan bin numbers. So you don't have the ability to manually put in a bin number. You must use a barcode to scan the actual bin number. Now, we can actually print these bin numbers as barcodes. You will just contact our support team, and our support team can actually assist you with guidance on this. Allow manual quantity entry. Now, I have this turned on in the system, and you will see me shortly in the walkthrough going through the manual quantity entry. So if you have that turned off, you must scan every single item to be able to receive it in, which is obviously a safety measure for some businesses, and for some other businesses, you want to allow manual entry of these goods. We also have select an expense account for write-offs. So here I've selected 310 cost of goods sold. We also have sales order picking scheduling. Now I've selected all, but you can select scheduled. Now, if you do select scheduled, the number of orders per pick option is immediately enabled below. So if I select here, it will say how many orders can be picked per pick. So if I'm a warehouse person, I'm going around to pick a certain number of orders, we can say, hey, only 5 orders at a time. You only have the capacity to do 5. That's our sweet spot, and that's where we have the lowest amount of errors. So 5 orders per person, or 1 order per person, or 2 orders per picker. For this instance, I'm just like all. Use tote numbers. So this is making it mandatory. And so I'll explain a little bit about totes. So totes are like, you can call like buckets on a trolley. So if you have a trolley that you go walking around the warehouse to pick those items, you have certain buckets that each order is going to go into. So for example, tote 1 is for sales order 40. Tote 2, sales order 41, and so forth. So these totes are more like little buckets or little containers that you're putting everything for that order. Sales order packing right now is set to manual, and sales order shipping is set to manual because we want to be doing this manually in the system at the moment, so we can look at everything. But if you select automatic, sales order packing is automatic. What it's going to do is that as soon as the pick is authorized, it's going to automatically pack the item as well. If you select sales order shipping automatic too, as soon as the pack is done, it's going to automatically mark it as ship, which is not going to allow you to actually print the shipping label. So if you're doing the shipping out of the WMS, you need to look at that manually. And then in transit accounting, if you're doing stock transfers between 2 applications, it's going to take us some time. We do have in transit accounting, which I won't go into, but it can be enabled in the backend and connected. Now, there's also the concept of putaways. So putaway is if you manage a warehouse, imagine a truck rolls up to the roller doors, unloads a few pallets of stock. What you can do is receive it in, and then from there, the putaway would be taking it from the roller doors onto the shelves. So that will be the putaway function, and you can find the putaway function under settings, general settings, and under purchase process customization. And then we have see that we have enabled use putaways here. So we've enabled that feature. One other thing before jumping into the products and into WMS itself to receive those products in, I'm just going to quickly talk about something else, which is bins and stock locators. So at a product level, you can see that we have what's called a stock locator. If you are utilizing a stock locator and bins will take priority. If you're using stock locators only, then stock locator will also populate onto the WMS. But if you're using stock locators and bins, only the bin will populate. So the bin is the ideal way. But if you are using stock locators too, then you don't create any bins, and you can just create stock locators. And you can also create picking zones. So these are zones within a warehouse that a picker, the person that's logging into the WMS, can select their zone that they're going to be working in. Now, to get more clarification on what are zones, how to zone out your warehouse, what are the best methods, how does it even work, I will recommend getting in contact with one of our implementation partners to really go through and do a detailed analysis of your warehouse and how to optimize it. But a zone is simply a portion of the warehouse that you've blocked off to a particular picker. From there, I'm going to jump into how to create a bin. So if I go into settings, reference books, locations and bins under the stock. Click on bins. You can see I have bin A and bin B. These are the two bins that I will be using today in today's owner. So bins are pretty much sub-locations within the main location. So we can see our main location here is main warehouse, and our sub-locations are bin 1 and bin A and bin B. These are our sub-locations. Now, so definitely recommend, if you need to find out more information, we have tutorial guides on bins and locations and what they mean, and so forth. So these are some of the things that you will know. Also, one more thing to mention: if you are using a shipping application, you must, in your reference books, have shipping contacts for your company contacts. So for company contacts, you must have one for shipping and set for the default for the type, and at the minimum have a name and a phone number, and also under company addresses have a default for shipping. So this is important to make sure that everything flows well. Now, if you are making a sales order in the system, once you have connected to the shipping application, now each shipping platform have its own certain configuration, but most importantly is that the shipping carriers will fall into the system and they'll default. Now, if you are using a like e-commerce platform to raise the orders, these will come in from your e-commerce platform, and then it will get put in here as your shipping carrier method, for example, USB, UPS, ground. So this will default from the e-commerce platform if you're using one, or if you're using B2B portal, these carrier options will default and it will populate here, so you don't have to re-enter them. That's all you need to kind of know for the basics of using the WMS. Now let's just jump back into the presentation here. And go into just bear with me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to change screen so it doesn't live stream. So when you log into the WMS, this is the screen that's going to be seen. And once you log in and you can scroll into the system, these are all the options that are available on the WMS. Again, just to be mindful, WMS is an app, separate app that's downloaded onto the device. So again, on your mobile phone. So let's go into a PO, and we're just going to say, search for a PO. So something we're going to look for a PO. You can scan a PO number, you can search it up, you can just click search and all of them will come up. So let's choose PO 16, and we can see we got 3 line items here. Now, so we can start, what we can do is either select, click on each of those line items, enter the number, the SKU, or start scanning the barcode. So once I scan the barcode, I can scan the barcode number here again, and I can keep scanning that barcode number to keep adding quantities in. So I'm just scanning each barcode number now into it, and I can keep doing this. I can click on quantity, and I can actually change the quantity here, or I can keep scanning afterwards as well and receive all. So if I click on receive all, receives all the units, and you can see there's toy 1 now, it's marked as green, and I can now scan for toy 2 and again scan again. So this is the barcode that I'm scanning that's set up in the backend. And then we can look at our vitamin C supplement. So I'm just going to scan that as well. And once that's scanned in, there you go. Now this one's a expired batch, so I can actually select a date and then put in a batch number and press enter. You can see it appears as receive one quantity. I can keep putting it in. I can click on quantity, add it and save it. And then if there's a second batch number, I can put it in, say B2. And click save as a quantity. And I can click on finish from here to take me back to that receiving look. Also be mindful here that you can press save from here. You can also do partial receiving. So what that does in the back end of there, it creates an advanced purchase order for multiple receivements. So I'll leave without PO and and transfers at the moment. And what I would jump into is put away. So you can see these items are now ready to be put away. So these are put away into the particular bins. Now I'm going to scan a bin. Don't forget I've enabled to be able to enter manually bin numbers as well. So I'm just going to scan it though. Put in the batch number. You can also scan all these batch numbers in. You can see quantity 1 there. And I can just put in it again. And what it'll do, it'll change the quantity to quantity 2. 2 items now for that batch. And if I click on it, I can reduce it. I can't add any more because that was the amount that I received in initially. So I'm just putting that initial receivement away. Now I'm going to go batch 2. There's B2. And then I'm going to add the rest, the remaining 3. So making it 5 out of 5. And now I can click on finish. And I can move on with my next item by scanning the barcode. Scan the bin number. Now, if any of these points we end up, you can start scanning and you can keep scanning to keep adding units. Now you can see it's pretty quick. If you keep scanning those items, it picks it up pretty quickly. You can click on that quantity figure, or you can click on receive all and it will receive the whole thing in. Now we can go ahead and scan the bin number now for toy 1 as well. But if I scan the wrong one, it'll say, do you want to create it? If it doesn't recognize that bin number, I can go in there and manually put bin 1, bin A again, and I can scan the barcode for the item. It'll pick it up. And again, I can scan all of it. I'll say play, receive all. Now that I've finished, are you sure? Yes. And what that's going to do is make that stock available now in the back end for orders. Now we're going to jump back into the receiving tab and we're going to go without a PO. So receiving without a PO is a blind receipt. If you're not familiar with this, we do have plenty of documentation available. So what you do is just select your supplier, say load products, and then click start. Now I can start scanning or entering a barcode or SKU, and it will tell me that I'm going to be receiving items in now. I can keep scanning. I can click on quantity, add the quantity that I'm going to be receiving in, click save, yes, and I can finish it here. So what this is going to do is actually going to create a blind receipt for toy 1 for 10 items. So these are receiving items that I don't have a purchase order in the system for. I can add more, increase the quantity, click save, and then finish. And then here from supplier X, I can go back in, change the quantity if it's incorrect. Yep, finish. And I'm going to go ahead and save. Are you sure? Yes. Now this is going to create a blind receipt in the back end of the system. I can get out of here and we'll come back to bin transfers later. Now let's go back, let's go into picking an item. So we got a couple of sales orders in the system. I think only 2 at the moment. So it's nice and simple. We can click search or enter the sales order number either way. Select one or all of the orders we want to pick that's available, that's ready to be picked. So stock is available for these. Now for each sales order, I can put a tote in, tote 1 and tote 2. So I only have 2 totes for each order. Now what I can do is they can see is saying that toy 1, tote 1 and tote 2, the quantity to be remain to be picked. So I can scan it. It will say the bin, put in the tote number, so 1 here, and then scan the item. So I'm just scanning the barcode, and then I can pick it. I can also partially pick to trigger an advanced sales order for multiple picking. And if I scan the wrong item, it will tell me incorrect item. So it does have the ability to recognize the wrong item that's been scanned. So now I can move on to tote 2 and pick that toy. So what I've done pretty much, and if it's incorrect tote number, then it will tell me. And also if it's incorrect. So scan it, yep. Let's go, and we can quickly scan. That's pretty quick. The scanning is really quick in the system and picks it up. It's really responsive. And then I can jump into now my supplement. So I put in the tote number into 2, then make sure that I'm actually putting it into the right tote. Now again, tote number and batch number can be all scanned as well using things, and then put it in. What I'll do is click finish. Now I've picked all my orders at the moment. I can jump into the pack. So this could be a different person. So once it receives on the packing table, that person can either enter the sales order number or the tote number, click, and then, yep, for customer ABC, sales order number 51. We are going to now scan the barcode of the product of the item. It's going to start packing it for us. Now, once we've packed, so we've picked 3, we've packed 3, we can move on to the box. Now you can see from the box, the UPS is preloaded from the back end of the system. This one doesn't require me to put width, weight, length, and height of the box. So I just can put in the weight, click Save Box, and from here, print the label. So this is the shipping label. So this actually confirms in the shipping application this consignment that's going to be ready, and I can actually start printing the available. So once it picks up the printer, I can go ahead and select it. I can change paper size, or if I need to do any kind of configuration with my printer, I can change it and select a different printer. If I'm printing to the wrong one, obviously you can set up a default and then print. And that will just print from the printer, and you put it onto the box and it's gone. So you can go back to pack now, go to tote 2. Yep, that's my correct order. I can go ahead and start scanning. Now I can see it's packed 1, 2, 3, and we'll just keep scanning. If I scan the wrong item code, it will tell me. And then move on to vitamin C supplements. Now it's going to ask me to put the batch number in. If I need to amend anything, I can do that as well if I click on any of these stuff. And if I'm quite happy with what's there, if I'm not, I can come back, re-enter the batch number if I want to change quantities. There's a lot of options available here. So if I've done something incorrectly, I re-enter in, that's fine, confirmed it. If I need to change that batch number, change it in because that was incorrect. And then once I'm happy, click on box. Again, I can change the packaging. I can change the carrier. And once I'm happy, put in the weight on from my scale, press save box, and print the label. Same as before, the label will appear, and I can just go ahead and print it directly to my printer. So from here, we can jump back into the device. And let's go back. And now we can move on to some of the other stock control management features. So let's look at printing a label. So I can scan a barcode of a particular product, select that product, click print label. Now, these are just some default kind of layouts that I've put out here. So they're just the default ones that come in. Click on print label. So if you're receiving products in or putting them onto a new shelf or something like that, you need a label. Here goes $15 and it's the barcode, that's the template. Again, these templates can be fully customized in the back end. And again, our support team can assist with customizing these templates and I can print it. From the menu here, I can just jump in and look at inventory write-offs. Click on new, select the effective date. The account code is pre-populated from the back end, from the WMS setting. Select the effective date, click continue, and start scanning the item barcode that I want to write off. So toy 1, for instance, select the bin location. It's telling me there's only 8 available in this bin location. There's a total of 108. And I can just keep scanning the number to account for the number I want to write off. And if I scan the wrong one, it says item not found in the bin. If I scan the right toy 1 again, it will pick it up. We can go back in, change the quantity if it's incorrect, and then go back to the write-off. And the write-off is complete. So then the stock write-off is done in the back end of the year and recorded, and accounting journals are sent to the accounting application. Now we can also do stock takes and cycle counts. So if we already have an active stock take that's going on, it'll be found here. Currently, we don't have any stock takes, so we can start a new stock take. We can enter the warehouse, select a bin to filter by. We can also filter by categories, brands. So this will lock down that particular category or lock down that particular bin. We can scan the bin number and then start scanning the item barcodes to start selecting which one are we going to start counting. So toy 2, again, make sure we're counting in the right bin, scan the bin number, and then scan the item code, so the item barcode, and then we can manually, because I've enabled manual again in the back end, I can manually count for it. I can even type in and actually start typing in the quantity. So let's finish that off and move on to the next one. So we're just going to quickly do a count for all of these items, scan the bin that we're actually going to be counting in, the item, and again, keep scanning if you want to count, or click on quantity, go in and change that quantity manually if we need to. Or if we have manual disabled, then we'll have to scan every single item, which is a requirement for some businesses. We see here we have to select the batch and the expiry date that we see on the item, change the quantity. We can say we have counted 6 of these, for example, and batch 2, expiry date on that batch 2, and then the quantity, and then click finish. Once we're here, we can save it. So just remember that if you save a stock take, it still keeps that location as locked down. and then we can finish it. So once we finish the stock take, the locations open back up so you can start doing fulfillments out of it. And then we're looking at bin transfers. So you're gonna enter the source bin here. So in our situation, bin A, and start scanning for items to do internal bin transfers. You can keep scanning from here onwards. So we've picked 4 items now from this bin A to be placed into we are picked from. We can scan other items now, or we can say start the bin transfer, or we can scan another item in. Change quantity, let's finish. We can enter another source bin if we like. We'll stick to this one. So it brings us back to this pick at bin A. So we're just picking the items now. We can pick a vitamin cup as well. So let's select the batch that we're picking, the quantity, and then come back to this screen. And then enter this code again. So now what we're doing is we're going to start placing the items into the new bin. So we're putting toy 2 into, for example, bin B, and we can manually type this in as well. We don't have to always scan. Select the item here by scanning the barcode. Place all 3, or just keep scanning, nice and quick. And we can do the same for the other ones. Put to bin 2, sorry, bin B. Select the batch number. So put into bin B. Select the batch. That's all done now. And then we can put them away into bin B. Now, if you're managing different areas, work areas as well, you can select that back into it. So you got working areas, which is pretty much your location, organization name and location. So only have main warehouse. You can, if you work in different zones, you can moving from one zone to another. So if you're working from perishable goods zone to non-perishable goods zones, you can change that. Apart from that, that's quite it in terms of managing the orders. Now, I will jump back into the main screen. If you just bear with me, into the main device to show you what's happened in the back end. So we can see here that now we've received this item in. For purchase order 16. Now, if you are doing the other way around, where you're doing invoice first, not stock first, if you've done your invoice first, then the system's going to go. It's going to notice if the receiving differs from the invoicing. So you can see that stock receiving has been done here now. And then you need to do the invoicing. But if you've done invoicing first, you can still receive in the goods. It's not a problem. Sales order, same thing. So if you've done a sales order, then it's ready to be picked, packed, and shipped. You can pick, pack, and ship. If the sales order hasn't been picked, packed, and sales orders come in, it's been invoiced, then you can pick, pack, and ship, or vice versa. It's not going to matter. Just jumping back into the purchase orders, we can see also here that I have a bunch, for example, this PO17, it's not built. These are all my blind receipts, the ones that have no purchase orders, straight into the invoice. These are all my blind receipts that we did in the system. So receiving without a PO is pretty much what we call a blind receipt. So we can see the blind receipt here. We've received the stock where we never ended up actually putting away the blind receipt in the system. So it's still sitting as ready to be put away. So the system's quite, accurate in terms of what reflects into the back end of the system. And in terms of the sales orders as well, click on sales. For example, we can see here to pick, we can see P1 here. It's been picked, packed, and shipped. And also, as soon as the shipping label has been generated, the tracking number comes back into the system. That's a really important part. So ShipStation in this scenario pushes back the tracking number once we printed the shipping label and confirmed as shipping into the back end of DIA, carrier with UPS, obviously today's date. So yesterday's date, system's running on, I'm in Australia, Sydney, Australia. I think the system's running on Pacific time, North America. So tracking number is pushed back into the system. And if this sale came from an e-commerce platform, then that tracking number will populate back into the e-commerce platform too. For example, if it's come from Shopify. And we can see in the logs here that, the pick, pack, and ship happening as well. Back to the presentation. We go back in. Sorry about that. All right. So if there's any questions, please don't hesitate at any point just to contact us directly through these numbers. Now, there were some questions that were asked, so some I have to get back to, but there was a few good questions that I'll try to cover at this point. Now, John asked, there was a few questions actually that need quite a detailed explanation. One that kept coming up was, doesn't matter if it's invoice first or receive stock first. Jonathan asked this question. The question is no. As long as you're following the process, when it's ready to be picked or ready to be received in, you can receive that stock in or fulfill that product. And another question that got asked as well by Ed Dwyer was that the WMS can have multiple bin locations for the same item. So the answer is yes, you can. And now how the bin locations work is that they're alphanumerical. So it's bin A, B, C, D, for example. It believes that you're going to go A in the warehouse route. A is first, followed by B, followed by C, followed by D. So if the same product exists in A and C, for example, once you run out of A, it'll guide you to C to pick from there next. So it looks at the route. So it's a alphanumerical sequence. So A is first, or 1 is first, followed by 2, 3, 4, or B, C, D. So that's one of them. Now, there was also a couple of times it came up, people want to know the difference between totes and bins. So bin is actually like a location that you can put stock in. So bin will be a sub-location where stock actually sits, and you can transfer from one bin location to another bin location. Where totes, if you think about it as like a shopping trolley, if you have a shopping trolley and it's broken into 4 sections, one of those sections will be called totes. So for example, you'll have tote 1, tote 2, tote 3, tote 4 in those. I'll try to find some better examples and maybe some graphics around what are the difference between bins and totes, and have that emailed out to everybody after this. And just working through some of the other questions. Now, there was another good question on the Android or the iOS device. Can the camera be used as a scanning for a barcode? At the moment, no, that functionality is not available. Might be something available in the near future, but currently, no, you will need to use a point and shoot barcode scanner to make it all work. And there's a couple other good questions. More or less, they're quite detailed questions that I need to get back to everybody. Now, there was one more question here that I could probably answer on the spot without having to. With auto freight labeling created, can you have the option of a freight calculation? Good question in terms of freight calculation. Now, Bruce Palmer asked that question. So what, in terms of the freight calculation, that happens in the back end. So if you, when you're at the time of the raising the order, you can actually get live shipping rates from there if you have the in-app connection or when you're doing quotes. But within the app, it does, when you're in the WMS, it doesn't tell you how much it's going to cost you. So that's kind of selected before the sales on the sales order level. So when the sales order comes in, again, shipping applications have different things like choose the cheapest or so forth. So at the sales order or the quote level, that's when shipping rates are pulled in, and you can see your rates there. So, you know, for example, standard is $10, express is $25, and so forth from there. Now, just also being mindful of time as well. We got about 5 more minutes left, but I will need to get back to a few people with these questions. That have been asked, and one more I probably could answer on the spot here by Mandy. Can it be used without barcodes and using SKU instead? So you can actually just populate the SKU because it is unique as in the barcode field, and just use that. Or you can just manually search for the SKU in the search field. So you can actually manually just start typing in the SKU. Alternatively, some people use the SKU in the barcode field and use that. And the system can generate barcode labels as well. So that's something that can be done very easily. There seems to be a lot of questions here, about 15 total. I think I got through about 4 of them. Seems to be all very legitimate questions that require a little bit more sophisticated long version answers. Don't feel like I'm going to be doing it justice, and also just mindful of time, being able to get through all these questions immediately. So we'll go through. Very good. One more question that came through last minute by Anonymous. How much does the WMS cost? Now, that's also a very good question. The WMS is actually part of the existing base plan. So all you guys can go ahead and start trialing the WMS right now and get it. So currently it's included in the base plan, and it's not going to, you're going to have the ability to test that out and start using it as part of your current offering from DIA. And yes, the recording of this webinar will be sent out to everybody that registered. So thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. It was an absolute pleasure. Hope you got something out of it and it was valuable to you. Again, a lot of questions came through, a lot of attendees. Very grateful for everybody. Thank you all. Enjoy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you, everyone.